time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
Which middleweight has the most to prove at hashtag UFC 234? Here are your choices. Israel Adesanya, Kelvin Gastelum, Anderson Silva, or Robert Whittaker. Think it through, guys. All right, this is a question that you can go in many directions. Take your time, give me a name, and then the reason behind it. Start off, Goose.
Well, I feel like a lot of people are going to want to say Israel Adesanya. But if he were to lose this fight, I think we would all agree he still has a tremendous upside, and he's still a good fighter. For me, the pick is Anderson Silva, because Anderson Silva has been a great fighter, but he just hasn't looked the same as of late, and I think he's out to prove that he's still a force to be reckoned with. So that's my pick.
How about you, Richard?
Boy, that threw a wrench in my theory, because I was going to say Israel Adesanya. I think I'm still going to say Israel Adesanya just because if out of these four, one of the kids is not like the others, meaning that one of them has not either held a title in the UFC, been one of the greatest ever in the UFC, or in the case of Kelvin Gastelum, put together one hell of a resume over two weight divisions. He's just newer. He just hasn't been at the party that long. He's an undefeated fighter, but he's still got, in terms of proving where he belongs in the echelons of the UFC, is he a guy who immediately is going to skyrocket to, top 5 of the division, title contender, that sort of thing, or is there going to be an adjustment made, and is he actually going to turn out to be a really good fighter? Fighter's going to be around for a long time, but now we're going to see him, maybe take a loss or two when he's facing top talent. So I still think he has the greatest range of movement in terms of his stock. However, Goze's point is well taken, just in terms of if you want to say literally when each of these four guys wakes up the next day, if they did suffer a loss, who's looking at a different world in front of them, then that would be Anderson Silva.
Okay. I'm going to go with Robert Whittaker. And the reason is I think MMA fighters know he's a badass because, again, the Whittaker test, to pass that 2 times, and he knows that's in his rearview mirror, at least for the immediate future. I feel like, though, he's such a he's so far away from Anderson Silva, it's almost like he's a champion, but nobody's calling him a great champion. He's got a ways to go. And to do it, I mean, he's only got the 1 title defense, technically. You see, he's had a rough patch of it, guys. There wasn't an incumbent that he beat. If you'll recall, GSP said, I'm done, right? Then they fought for an interim. There was an interim title, and then another guy retired, or however that played out. Sorry. Yeah, that was an interim title. And then the other guy gave up the belt. And so all of a sudden, one guy was just, the champ. And so he hasn't really had these crowning moments other than he beat Yoel Romero. But if you look at all the killers that he's beaten along the way, he's got Yoel Romero twice, Jacare Souza, Derek Brunson, Rafael Natal before he retired, Uriah Hall, Brad Tavares. I mean, he's really, really got some skins on his wall. But it's like he's not even in the conversation for greatest middleweight of all time. Like, he's got such a long distance to go, and it's going to take time. And another thing is he gets injured a lot, so it's like he can't really pick up any traction. I would love to see him have like a 2019 with 3 fights, almost like Stipe Miocic had, I think, in 2016 or 17, where he's just starting. And I think he'll not only have the respect that he already has, but he'll have like an aura about him. Anderson's already there for me. Izzy's got time, and he can afford that loss. And like I said earlier, Kelvin Gastelum's playing with house money.
You don't think Robert's demeanor has a lot to play with it?
That's another thing, yeah. Like,
it just doesn't really pop. It's not that he's a bad guy. I'm not even saying he has to be a trash talker. He's just kind of vanilla, right?
I almost feel like him and Gastelum and even GSP to a degree were just, they're like, a lot of people almost don't even accept them as middleweights. It's like Robert said, I'm tired with the weight cut, I'll move up. If you recall, Stephen Thompson beat him. And he lost to Court McGee back-to-back. And then he goes out there and he's just doing all these great things, but it's almost like no one's really accepting him because he's just a smaller middleweight. And like I say, there's not a frequency of fights.
Yeah. No, that, maybe everything that you just said lends itself to the idea that if Whitaker were to lose, and if it were not a really close fight, something that's hotly debated, we may need to run this back kind of thing, if he's just soundly defeated, he may have the potential to have the furthest steps back in terms of the conversation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know,
and I don't know that the UFC will be in that much of a hurry to just throw him back in there the way they shoved Cody Garbrandt, because they knew they had a potential star there. Let's give him the rematch, or Joanna, let's give her the rematch. Would rather be like, what do you know? You gave it your best, kid. But there's always been like a circle back to Rockhold and Weidman and some of these other guys. But like I say, everyone respects them, but I guess there's just not that aura yet that the fans have embraced. All right, that said, my choice came in last. This is how it broke down. What was it, 1,842 votes. 44% said Israel Adesanya.
Yeah.
27% said Anderson Silva.
Yes.
22% said Calvin Gastelum. And 7% said Robert Whitaker. Okay. That was like Jose Luis Rivera. Remember that jobber for the WWE? He just kind of threw his fist up or whatever. There you have it. There's today's Daily Debate. Brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team and Richard Hunter from the Phone Booth Fighting Podcast.